Say, do you love Marvel? Do you have a great idea and a pitch for them to make a movie about based on Marvel? And you know it's great because you love Marvel? Well, I'm sorry, but Marvel Studios is not interested in people who love their source material. So anyway, not really a big revelation here. It's just kind of funny when one of them just flat out admits it. But here we are, Bounding into Comics, referring to this interview that producer Nate Moore did on some show, podcast, what have you. And pretty much spills the beans. So he was the producer on Captain America Civil War, great film. Falcon and Winter Soldier, terrible series. And Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Didn't see it, read the plot, sounds like crap. So not too impressed, you know. I'm getting to think he had very little to do with Captain America's Civil War. But anyway, he was speaking with host Matthew Baloney about his general, or maybe that's Baloney, whatever, experience working for the Disney subsidiary. Moore was eventually asked if there was some kind of a Marvel boot camp or something you do with these filmmakers to ingratiate them into this world and knowing all the things that they need to know. Sounds like a reasonable premise of how to orchestrate this whole thing, you know, which owes everything to its source material. You know, decades of source material. So, yeah, you know, that sounds like a credible template of how they begin. But Nate said, not really. Oh. Because, you know, that would be work. So, noting that some Marvel writers grew up reading and collecting comics, such as Avengers Endgame co-director Joe Russo, who, you know, the Russo brothers were the best of the best when it came to these Marvel movies, you know, and Black Panther director Ryan Coogler. Moore told Baloney, one thing I think is interesting, and specifically for writers, I would say, is that a lot of times we're pitched writers who love Marvel. And to me, that's always a red flag. Yeah, because the last thing you want is someone with knowledge of the material and love for it. Yeah, you wouldn't want that. Because I don't want you to already have a pre-existing idea of what it is. Right, so if you're writing Spider-Man, you don't want to know what Spider-Man is going into it, which most people do, so I don't know where they're going to find somebody to write the next one. But anyway, because you grew up with the comics and that's what you want to recreate. Well, yeah. I want someone who's going to be hard on the material. Oh, that kind of love. Who can go, what is this? I think there's a movie here, but maybe we should be looking at it in this way. Well, the first question, what is this, can be answered by reading the comic books, you know, for the basic premise, you know. So right off the bat, you kind of screwed up your scenario here. What is this? Well, but you don't want them to read it. So, offering up an example of what he was looking for in prospective writers, Moore then pointed to Captain America Trilogy writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who weren't comic guys growing up, but were like, wait, Captain America? This seems a bit weird. What if we kind of looked at it this way? He doesn't really go into specifics. What, they make it a more of a spy thriller type thing, an aspect of it, which, wouldn't you know it, a lot of Captain America comics did just that, so it's not a great example for his point here, as yeah, no doubt the writers were not comic book fans, but I suspect they did a little more work than Moore was aware of. So anyway, and they weren't married to anything. Nothing was sacrosanct. Well, it seems so to me. Okay, so anyway, because the Captain America movie, it's an adaptation. You can argue that. I mean, hell, Iron Man, that's an adaptation from the comic book story, but it's the same story. You see? It's Captain America. Well, you know, he volunteers for the Super Soldier program and he becomes this great hero. Same story. Iron Man, well, he gets captured by this terrorist organization in Afghanistan. Well, in the comic books, he was captured by a warlord in Vietnam. And he has to build the suit to escape. And the friend he built it with gets killed before he, you know, and he learns a lesson about humanity and whatnot and becomes a hero and all that. Same story. See? That's all you did. You just sort of changed the scenes and whatnot based on the times it came out. You could have done it as a period piece, I suppose, but they made it, you know, in the present time, well, at the time, and Afghanistan made more sense. That's it. The actual core of the character and the stories and everything was all intact. I think that's important to be able to look. The source material is great, and we're completely dependent on it because the brand was already made, and that's what we're banking on. And I love it. No, you don't. And comics work great in the medium that they were built on. But that's not a direct one-to-one translation to the best version of the movie. It was for Iron Man, which started it all. It wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for that movie. Huh. And sometimes it takes someone who's out of the culture to go, hey, I know you think it should be this, but maybe it should be this other thing. So, turning to provide further support for his argument, which he hasn't done at all, Thor Ragnarok. So, Thor Love and Thunder director David Cohen has a great... David Cohen? I thought Taco Waititi did it. Did he just write it? Well, anyway, a great example of that, too, because he was like, hey, I know Thor traditionally is a bit stiff, a bit Shakespearean, but what if you tweaked it? What if you tweaked the tone completely? I guess he means the writer, doesn't he? Whatever. Yeah, tweak it completely. Well, tweaking is one thing. Tweaking it completely means it's not the character anymore. And it's not. It's the Thor parody, and it isn't even that. You know? So, see, the thing about Ragnarok is it was an entertaining film, and it wasn't Thor. It wasn't. That's the big flaw for it. It had some elements in it. But, you know, it hit some nerves, and it kind of reminded people of Guardians of the Galaxy, which it kind of ripped off. And which makes sense that Thor, you know, ended up with him for a while. But anyway, that's all it was. And then you tried to repeat it with this one. And, well, yeah. So, I just don't see any real argument here for what his point is, which falls flat, and I don't even think he understands what he's saying. And hey, who's this guy? Well, he's not who he's supposed to be, because they won't let him be that character. But then again, of course, don't get all caught up in all the identity politics of it, because it's really about the rights that they just don't control, so they had to change it. So. But anyway, yeah, the argument falls flat. He thinks he's saying something brilliant. When all he's really referring to is that, yes, there are changes made from comic book to movie, and that's been the case for all of the superhero movies. You can go all the way back to Christopher Reeve's Superman and stuff like that, where they nudged it here and there to make it fit for the timeline or the tone or what have you. But not outright just going in blind, winging it, and being lazy and slap job stories with ginormous plot holes in it, whether it was in a comic book or a movie, it wouldn't matter. So he's just confessing to the absolute laziness that is surrounding Marvel Studios these days, and yet seems pretty smug and sure of himself that he said something really brilliant and fascinating, when no, he just admitted to laziness and stupidity. So that's why you end up with things like She-Hulk, which literally thinks it's clever by admitting it's stupid. You know? Because, you know, when you're doing, like, say, for instance, forget about the comic books and stuff. Hey, I'm going to do, say, a courtroom drama series. But I don't know jack squat about the law, lawyers, courtrooms. I don't know anything about that. I'll just write about food and sex and stuff. But don't worry, it's okay, because I'm going to laugh about it. And we'll break the fourth wall, and that'll justify everything. Break the fourth wall? The fourth wall to what? You see, it's got to actually be something that has a wall to break. Couldn't even build that. But yeah, you say you think all those court dramas and stuff, Law and Order and all that, they didn't have at least consultants describing how the case like that would go and stuff like that, so they could at least try to get it there. The same thing with the hospital dramas and stuff. Oh, well, this character's going to have this condition and we got to deal with it. You might want to talk to somebody who actually knows about it. Yeah. But not for this, billion-dollar enterprise here, or at least it was. Yeah, well, when you get sloppy like this, and then you try to pose as if you're really clever when you're not, and then it shows through. And, well, the damage sets in, and the product is not as valuable as it once was. So anyway, I appreciate the honesty. Yeah, we don't really care about any of this crap, and if you do, we're going to show you the door. Yeah. And so now Marvel is out of the culture.